Life is not an accident. There is order in the chaos, a structure hidden beneath the noise of daily existence, but not everyone sees it. Not everyone feels it. Some men wander through life, passive, waiting for meaning to be handed to them. Others, those favored by God, carry a weight, a responsibility, a calling that cannot be ignored. And yet, the path of the favored man is not easy. It is not filled with comfort. If anything, it is riddled with obstacles. Why? Because to be chosen is to be tested. To be blessed is to bear the burden of greatness. The first sign of divine favor is struggle. If life has never tested you, if you have never been forced to stand on the edge of despair and decide to fight or surrender, then you have not yet stepped into your true potential. God refines through fire. He does not hand out strength like a participation trophy. He forges it in adversity. Life does not hand strength to the comfortable. Strength is earned, forged in the fire of difficulty, and tested in moments of doubt. The man who is favored is not spared from hardship. He is chosen for it. And that can be a difficult truth to accept. You may look at your life and wonder why you face battles that others never seem to encounter. Why does it feel like the weight of the world rests on your shoulders while others move through life effortlessly? The answer is simple. You are being prepared for something greater. Every great man in history, every leader, every innovator, every individual who left a lasting mark on this world, each of them has faced hardship. Not just minor inconveniences, but real crushing obstacles. They were doubted, ridiculed, betrayed, and at times left with nothing but their will to keep moving forward, and yet they did. Because struggle is not a sign that you are failing, it is proof that you are growing. You may feel like life is testing you beyond your limits, pushing you into a place where surrender seems like the only option. But here's the truth. You have survived every single hardship you have faced so far. No matter how impossible it seemed at the time, you are still here. That is not by accident. There is a resilience within you that is greater than you realize. The challenges you face are not roadblocks, they are training grounds. Every setback strengthens you. Every rejection redirects you. Every failure teaches you something you could not have learned otherwise. The world is full of people who give up the moment things become difficult. They blame circumstances, surrender to their fears, and convince themselves that life is unfair. But you are not one of them. If you were, you wouldn't be reading this right now. Deep down you know that there is something inside you that refuses to quit. The difficulties you face today are shaping the man you are becoming tomorrow. And one day you will look back at every challenge and realize they weren't there to break you, they were there to build you. Keep going. Second, a favored man has unshakable integrity. He does not bend to convenience. He does not sell his soul for approval. He stands firm in truth, even when it costs him something, even when it isolates him. The world has no shortage of men who compromise, but it desperately lacks men who refuse to. Integrity is not about the words you speak when people are watching. It is about the choices you make when no one is looking. It is the foundation of character, the silent force that defines who you truly are. In a world where deception is often rewarded, where shortcuts seem easier, and where standing by your values can feel like a lonely path, choosing integrity is not always the most convenient option, but it is always the right one. A man of integrity does not shift with the tides of public opinion. He does not say what is popular simply to fit in. He does not compromise his beliefs for temporary gains. Instead, he remains firm, grounded in what he knows to be true, even if it costs him opportunities, friendships, or approval. Because integrity is not about seeking validation. It is about honoring the truth, even when it is difficult. There will be moments in life when doing the right thing comes at a price. When telling the truth might cost you a promotion. When standing by your principles might make you an outcast. When refusing to betray your values might mean walking away from something you once wanted. But understand this, The moment you trade your integrity for comfort, you lose a part of yourself that is far more valuable than anything you could gain. The strongest men in history were not the ones who did what was easy. They were the ones who stood their ground even when it was inconvenient. They were the ones who held firm to their values when others crumbled under pressure. And they did so because they understood something most people never will. Integrity is not just about the choices you make today. It is about the legacy you leave behind. When people think of you, will they see a man who stood for something, a man whose word was unbreakable, a man who could not be bought, manipulated, or swayed by pressure? Or will they see someone who folded the moment it became difficult? That choice is made in small moments, when no one is watching, when no one will know, when you could get away with doing the wrong thing. Those are the moments that define you. A man of integrity sleeps well at night because he does not live in fear of his own conscience. He does not have to remember which lie he told or worry about being exposed. He walks through life with confidence, knowing that his actions align with his values. He earns the respect of those around him, not because he demands it, but because he deserves it. Integrity will not always lead to the easiest path, but it will always lead to the right one. And in the end, a man who chooses integrity over convenience will always stand taller than those who compromise their way to the top. Stay true to who you are, no matter what it costs, because the price of integrity is always worth paying. Third, a favored man sees the hand of God in his timing. Doors open when they should, not when he wishes. There is a moment of frustration in this realization, but also freedom. The waiting is not punishment, it is preparation. What is meant for you cannot be taken from you, but you must be ready to hold it. Life has a way of unfolding in ways we do not always understand. There are moments when you feel ready for something, ready for success, ready for an opportunity, ready for the next chapter, yet nothing happens. You wait, you push, you try everything in your power to move forward, but the doors remain closed. It's frustrating, confusing, and at times discouraging. But what if the delay is not a denial? What if the waiting is not a punishment, but a preparation? Timing is everything. The right thing at the wrong time can be just as harmful as the wrong thing at any time. Think of how many people rushed into success before they were ready and crumbled under the weight of it. Think of how many relationships fell apart because they were forced instead of allowed to grow naturally. Think of how many people took shortcuts only to realize later that the lessons they skipped were the ones they needed the most. You are not being overlooked. What is meant for you is already set in motion, but you must become the person who is ready to receive it. Sometimes the delay is there to teach you patience. Sometimes it is there to strengthen your character. Sometimes it is there because there are lessons you have yet to learn, experiences you need to go through, or qualities you need to develop before stepping into the next level of your life. Have you ever looked back on a moment when you desperately wanted something, only to realize later that if you had received it back then, you would not have been able to handle it? That is the power of divine timing. What is meant for you will not pass you by, but it will arrive when you are truly ready for it. Not when you think you are ready, but when you actually are. There is peace in surrendering to the process. Instead of fighting against time, use it. Grow in the waiting. Develop yourself in the quiet seasons. Strengthen your mind. Sharpen your skills. Build your patience. Because when the moment comes, when the door finally opens, you do not want to be unprepared. You want to be ready to walk through it with confidence, knowing that everything leading up to that moment was shaping you for exactly what is ahead. You are not late. You are not falling behind. Your journey is unfolding exactly as it should. Trust it. Keep working. Keep believing. And when the time is right, everything will align in ways greater than you ever imagined. Fourth, do not mistake opposition for failure. A man favored by God will have enemies. Not because he is cruel or unjust, but because his presence reminds others of what they could be. Weak men resent strong men. Mediocrity despises excellence. If you face resistance, it is because you are moving forward. When you begin to rise, not everyone will celebrate you. The moment you start walking a different path, pushing beyond limits, refusing to settle for mediocrity, you will notice something: resistance. It will come in many forms. Some people will question you, some will doubt you, and others will try to tear you down. Not because you have wronged them, but because your growth threatens their comfort. People are not always against you because you are doing something wrong. Often they are against you because you are doing something right. When you choose to become more disciplined, it reminds them of their lack of discipline. When you work hard to improve yourself, it highlights their unwillingness to change. When you start to succeed, it forces them to confront the fact that they too could have achieved more but chose not to. And instead of looking inward, instead of fixing their own lives, some people find it easier to attack, criticize, or resent those who are willing to do the work. This is not a reason to shrink back. It is not a reason to stop. If anything, it is proof that you are moving in the right direction. No one envies someone who is stuck. No one opposes someone who is unremarkable. The simple fact that you attract resistance means you are making an impact. The worst thing you could do is allow their words, their actions, or their negativity to make you doubt yourself. You must learn to keep going despite the noise, to separate yourself from the opinions of those who do not understand your vision, to realize that the weight of their envy is not yours to carry. It is not your job to make them comfortable with your success. It is not your job to dim your light so they feel better about standing in the dark. Your job is to stay focused, to keep growing, to keep moving forward. Some of the greatest individuals in history faced relentless opposition. They were misunderstood, criticized, even hated, but they did not let it stop them. They understood something most people never will. Greatness demands resistance. If you are facing opposition, it means you are climbing. If people envy you, it means you are doing something worth noticing. Let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them misunderstand. And then keep going. Because in the end, success is the loudest response you will ever give. Fifth, a favored man is restless. Not in a way that destroys him, but in a way that fuels him. He carries a calling that refuses to let him settle. There is something he must do, something greater than himself. Even when he doubts, even when he hesitates, the calling remains. It whispers to him in quiet moments, urging him toward his purpose. There is something inside you that refuses to stay quiet. A voice, a pull, a deep sense that you were meant for more. No matter how much you try to ignore it, no matter how much you distract yourself, it remains. It whispers in moments of silence. It stirs when you see others living with purpose, and it refuses to let you settle for a life that feels empty. This is not a coincidence. That calling exists for a reason. It is not there to torment you, it is there to guide you. Too many people silence that inner voice. They convince themselves that they are being unrealistic, that their dreams are too big, that their purpose is unreachable. They push it aside in favor of comfort, routine, and familiarity. But deep down, they know something is missing. No amount of distractions can fill the void of an unlived purpose. If you feel that pull, if there is something in you that knows you are meant for more, listen to it. It will not always make sense. It will not always be clear, but it is real. That calling is trying to show you who you are meant to become. It is trying to push you past the limits that fear has placed on you. It is trying to wake you up before it is too late. You may doubt yourself. You may question whether you have what it takes, but understand this. Your calling does not come to you by accident. It does not choose you randomly. If you feel it, it is because you have the ability to fulfill it. You may not be ready yet, but readiness is not a requirement for starting. Growth happens in the process. The only thing required is the willingness to take the first step. There will be moments when the path is unclear, moments when you feel lost, frustrated, and unsure of what to do next. That is normal. Purpose is not handed to you in a perfect plan. It is uncovered through action, through persistence, through trusting yourself enough to move forward even when you do not have all the answers. A life without purpose is a life of quiet suffering. You are not meant to simply exist, to go through the motions, to ignore the fire inside you. That calling will never go away because it is a part of you. The sooner you embrace it, the sooner you will step into the life you were meant to live. Do not wait for the perfect moment. Do not wait for permission. If there is something inside you that will not let you rest, it is because you were meant to rise. Sixth, he does not walk this road alone. People look to him even when he feels unqualified. He does not seek attention, yet others find inspiration in his path. His life becomes an example, not because he aims to impress, but because he chooses to live with conviction. Whether you realize it or not, people are watching you. Your actions, your resilience, your choices. They send a message. In a world where so many people feel lost, discouraged, and uncertain, your ability to rise above challenges does not go unnoticed. You may not always hear it. You may not always be told. But someone somewhere is looking at you and finding the strength to keep going because of the way you carry yourself. Being a beacon for others does not mean you have to be perfect. It does not mean you have to have all the answers. It simply means that you refuse to quit. That even when life knocks you down, you get back up. That you walk with integrity, stand by your values, and push forward when it would be easier to give up. And by doing this, you give others permission to do the same. Some people will never tell you that you inspire them, but that does not mean they are not watching. A younger sibling, a friend going through a hard time, a stranger who sees your persistence, all of them are silently taking in the way you live your life. And in moments when they feel weak, when they feel like giving up, they remember you. They remember your strength, your perseverance, your refusal to accept defeat, and in that moment they find hope. You never know whose life you are impacting just by being who you are. By staying true to your values, you show others that it is possible to live with honor. By choosing discipline over comfort, you remind others that hard work pays off. By holding yourself to a higher standard, you challenge those around you to do the same. You become a light in the darkness, proof that strength, resilience, and character still matter in a world that often forgets them. This is not always an easy path. There will be times when you feel like no one sees your struggle, times when you question if it is worth it. But remember, the impact of your actions is far greater than you can measure. Every time you rise, you give others permission to rise too. Every time you keep going, you remind someone else that they can do the same. You were not meant to blend in. You were not meant to be silent. Your life is an example, an unspoken message that courage, discipline, and perseverance still have power. Do not underestimate the influence you have. Stand firm, stay strong, and keep moving forward. Because whether you see it or not, your light is guiding others. And finally, the most undeniable sign, he rises again, no matter how many times he falls. Failure does not defeat him, it educates him. It shapes him. It fuels him. The favored man understands that every setback is part of the plan. Every fall is another step towards something greater. Failure is not the end. Setbacks do not define you. Every time life knocks you down, you have a choice to stay on the ground or to rise again. And if you are still here, still breathing, still pushing forward despite everything you have been through, then you already know what kind of person you are. You are someone who refuses to stay down. Most people fear failure because they see it as a final verdict, as proof that they were not good enough. But failure is not a sentence, it is a lesson. Every great leader, every successful person, every individual who has ever achieved anything of value has failed repeatedly. What separates them from the rest is not that they avoided failure, but that they never let it break them. They used every fall as a foundation to build something stronger. There will be times when you feel exhausted, when it seems like every time you stand back up, life knocks you down again. You may wonder why you are being tested so much, why things cannot just be easier, but you must understand resilience is built through struggle. Strength is forged in adversity. The reason you keep rising is because you were never meant to stay on the ground. You have already survived everything that was meant to destroy you. Think about that. Every hardship, every betrayal, every disappointment, you faced them, and yet you are still here. That means there is something inside you that refuses to give up, something that keeps fighting no matter how hard things get. That is not weakness, that is not luck, that is power. The world belongs to those who refuse to quit. There will always be people who give up after the first failure, who walk away when things get tough, who convince themselves that success is reserved for someone else. But you are not one of them. You are the one who rises again, even when it hurts, even when it is unfair, even when everything in you wants to stop, because you know that the only true failure is giving up. One day you will look back and realize that every fall prepared you, every setback shaped you, every painful moment made you stronger than you ever thought possible. And you will understand that rising again was never just about getting back up. It was about proving to yourself that nothing, no failure, no hardship, no obstacle could ever keep you down. Keep going. Stand up one more time, because that is who you are. So if you find yourself tested, if you carry a calling that won't let you rest, if you have faced opposition yet refuse to surrender, then know this: you are not forgotten. You are favored. Your story is still being written. The question is, will you rise to meet it?